Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special podcast. And this is a very special occasion because I think it was Wednesday afternoon, I posted a joke. I think it's a joke. I wasn't really angry or make a fuss about it. It's about simply I noticed more and more influencer astrologer on the social media keep talking about the Cazimi. Oh, Mercury Cazimi, Jupiter Cazimi, Venus Cazimi. I'm not an expert of traditional astrology, but I do study with so many different tutor and teacher. They told me about the Cazimi, combustion, and another something. When I noticed that those influence apply the term Cazimi, but they kind of ignore the other bit of whole conjunction period. Apparently, they talk about the exact conjunction degree as a Cazimi, which is not totally wrong. But if you consider about the Cazimi, there is other bit in traditional astrology you have to take into account. So I decided to invite my best friend, who is also co-founder of AOA, Academy of Astrology, and also is a tutor for the School of Traditional Astrology. So she's totally qualified going to teach us this. So welcome. Hi, Jupiter. How are
Hi,
you?
Rod. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. So I'm so glad that you can just jump in on time because when I post this joke, many people ask, could you make a podcast explain what is combustion? I say, let me find an expert. So my first idea is my dear friend Jupiter. So could you tell us a little bit more about whole this concept about Cazimi, combustion, and even under something?
All right, so there are three stages that the planet make an conjunction with the sun. So we call it the synodic cycle, which is whenever a planet conjunct with the sun, it is a beginning of the cycle. And so there are three stages. So the first one is under sun's beams. So when a planet is within 17 degrees with the sun, so it is already under sun's beam. So it is, I would say it is like a first level of burning by the sun. All right.
Okay.
So yes, and when a planet moves nearer to the sun, that within 8.5 degrees, we call it combustion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so combustion means burned. So it is
Mm-hmm.
like the planet is burned by the sun. And
Mm-hmm.
so what we talk about Cazimi is when there is a really, really very close or exact conjunction that the planet is within 17 minutes with the sun. So this is like as if the planet is with the sun, exactly on the sun, like this. So there are three levels of the conjunction.
So 17 minutes, not degree.
Minutes.
So,
There are different saying about the orb. According to
okay.
William Lilly, he used 17 minutes that
Mm-hmm.
some Persian astrologer or Arabic astrologer used 17 minutes. But some even more ancient time in Hellenistic time, there is also a definition saying that it is in the same degree with the sun.
Oh,
So
okay.
yes, so but it is a matter of the orb. No matter it's like 17 minutes or a degree, it is still considered under the combustion. So I think it is just a matter of the numbers, but it doesn't affect the effect of Cassini or because it's no matter what, it is under combustion.
So, let me rephrase it because I just
Mm,
don't want to get confused, even
okay.
I'm a tiny bit. So, do you mean even when it is Cazimi,
Mm,
it's still considered combust?
right. Because combustion, it is within 8.5 degrees
Yeah,
with the sun. And
yeah.
so Cassimi is just one of the stages that when they are like together at
Ah,
nearly the exact degree or exact minute with
mm-hmm.
the sun.
Okay. Could you give us some examples? So, how does this three-stage level are they good or bad? Because I know people talk about Cazimi, sounds like a perfect, wonderful thing. But how about
Mhm.
combustion? And how about we talk about burn? How about the under something? Are they really bad?
Okay, so let's just imagine, if you are very new to astrology, that just imagine that the sun is something really very hot. It is like the fire, right? So when anything comes to fire, what will happen? Can you imagine? So what will happen when something goes to fire?
Burnt.
Yeah, it's got burnt. So whenever a planet is near the sun, it is like it is going to be very weak, or it can be like an imprisonment restriction because you are bound by the sun. And there is also a vulnerability there because the planet, what it represents, will become very weak or invisible. So that it is because you cannot see the planet really, because the sun's glare, the sun's light will just cover it. So it is also mean invisibility, and the planet is burned, is hurt, it is weakened, or in it depends on the context. For example, in different horary question, that for example, if you are asking about sickness, then a planet being burned by the sun can mean death or very, very poor health. Or if you ask about a question about a trial or a jury, that whether I will go to in the prison, then when the sun combusts a planet and the planet represents that person, then that could mean you will be imprisoned. So in general, you may say that it is something not really fortunate, or it is something like you are being just restricted by the sun.
So now I come to a funny question, because yes, this type of situation make me wondering why those influencers only talk about Cazimi and ignore the combustion. Because I think if you talk about Cazimi, you should talk about combustion and under the sunbeam too. And in this case, only celebrate about Cazimi, says a flowery, spiritual. We are blessed, but. How about the day before, or 2 days before, or 3 days before, we are scorched? It's kind of cherry picking, isn't it?
Right. So let's talk about Cazimi. So this word, from the Arabic terms, it is translated meaning in the heart. Yes, in the heart. So it is like when the sun represents the king or the heart, then when the planet comes to the sun, it is like in the heart. And the traditional astrologer Ibn Isra, he says it is likened to a person who sits with the king in his throne. So because the sun represents the king, so when a planet comes to the sun, it is like sitting next to the king, which is on his throne. So probably because of this idea that people will think that this is really good because I become the king, because I'm sitting on the throne. So this is one. This is one of the idea why people just like putting Cazimi as a kind of fortunate. And if you study traditional astrology, William Lilly has a kind of dignity table that you can check the marks about the planet strength, right? So it is interesting that for combustion, we deduct 5 marks, but for Cazimi, yes, 5. Yes, 5 marks. But then when it comes to Cazimi, it is like a plus 5 marks.
Yes.
But when it is Cazimi, it is also combustion. So it is plus 5 and minus 5. Then it's just 0, right? So I think it is so interesting that it is like there is a harm from the combustion. Probably there's something like fortunate about Cazimi in the heart, but it is still under the sun, under the burning of the sun. So what do we think about Cazimi? I will take like what William Lilly says. It is like the idea of conception, because in his question on pregnancy, when there is a planet which is under Cazimi, it is like indicates conception. So you can imagine that the sun is the power, it is the source of creativity or giving energy to something. So when a planet is with the sun, so it is like the conception. There is a potential that is going to grow, right? But not at this moment. Because it is like this, you can imagine that it is like the seed in the soil. There is a potential for the seed to grow, but it is still under the earth, or it is still in a very, very new beginning, under conception. So it is still vulnerable, it is still weak. So it cannot act. It does not have the power at this moment.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
yeah. At the same time, you can just imagine that if the sun is like the fire, then
mm,
when the planet pass through the sun, it is like a kind of purification. If you take the spiritual concept, yes, it is spiritual, but it is still, it is like you put the metal or you put the gold
mm,
under fire, then it is like going through a process of purification, but still
mm,
it is so weak or vulnerable that it can only
mm.
gain power after it separates from the
Ah,
sun.
that means it's good, but you have through the purification stage, and I think most people just take the cherry picking and take the easy part and celebrate it like what I think they. I have an idea because I'm from marketing background. I was thinking they are trying to create it a new term like a Mercury retrograde. Now everyone know the Mercury retrograde and they get bored of Mercury retrograde. Let us invent another new term in astrology to freak people out.
Right. Or indeed, we have this Cazimi so frequently because, for example, now we are under the new moon, right?
Yeah,
So the moon is, if it is new moon, then the moon is under Cazimi of the
yeah,
sun. It is combust
yes.
until a few days later, the moon is away from the sun, so we can see the moon. So it is a
Ah,
dark moon now, right? So
yes.
it's the same concept.
I got it. I heard about you prepare a interesting current news for us, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Talking about Cazimi, when you asked me to talk about this, then
Yeah.
I remember a news just 2 days ago. Because Cazimi, this time we have the sun with Venus in
Mm,
Gemini.
yes.
So Venus is about money, finance, or pleasure, enjoyment, and Gemini is about transaction, about exchange, buying and
Yes.
selling, things like this. So um, I when I read this news, I immediately remind me, oh, this is the Venus Cazimi, because 2 days ago, in the New York Stock Exchange, the price of Warren Buffett's Berkshire's Hathaway A shares, it drops 99.9%. It is freaking out every people. So why? Why is it so? Oh, because there is just some technical problem of the New York
Yes.
Stock Exchange. It is
Yes.
just like some problems with technically it is not the it is not the problems of the stock. So this remind me of the Cazimi because Venus and Gemini is about money and about transaction and
Yeah.
about commerce. So when it is burned, there is some problem coming out because it is weakened or
Yeah.
because, as we said, it is invisible. We cannot see it clearly because there is some confusion. Because
Mm,
because Venus, what it represents, is unclear at the moment,
mm-hmm.
or it is damaged.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's why that is some kind of technical problem because it's Gemini as well.
It is so interesting. Because I go through the timeline when you mentioned about this story. So the Berkshire Hathaway's A share price was a drop 99% beginning from 9:30 to the 10:27 EDT. And this was the transition moment so interesting. They are moving from combustion. If we apply the so-called 17 minutes,
Minutes.
right?
Okay.
If we only apply 70 minutes, if you apply 1 degree, that already really is Cazimi. But if you apply the 70 minutes rule, that was so interesting because that was the moment Venus moved from the combustion
To
to
Cazimi.
Cazimi at the 10:15 EDT. Then
Ah,
and then the
okay.
whole process by end around that like 10:27 they suspend the trading and then they really say all the trading during that time is does not affect it. You have to redo it again. So and by 11 o'clock they start trade again. By 11 o'clock they start trade again already Cazimi, and that was so funny.
Yes. So this is what Cazimi we can we can imagine what is happening. It is like, because what is represented by Venus, it is like weakened,
Yeah.
being invisible, or there's some
Yes.
problem. It is damaged by the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and very interesting, because this is like sitting next to the king. So we
Yeah.
can say, because this is Warren Buffett, which is a really a big name in the stock
Yes.
market, and that share is a big, a kind of really big name stock, instead of
Yes.
some like penny stock or some
Yeah.
just little problem of the stock exchange. No, but this is the kind of very famous or popular stock in the market. So
Wow.
it is quite representative, I think.
Yeah, and I have to say, in the ancient time, if you're not a king, but you sit next to king, you're somehow also in a dangerous. Come on.
Right, right. Not only in Asia or in the ancient, no matter in the Arabic world or in the Western
Yeah.
world. So when there is a king, then you are offending the king, then there is a big problem. So right. So some people say that it is like they use the analogy that it's like the prime minister next to the king.
Uh,
But indeed, this is like also a very dangerous position, because
mm,
if the king just like doesn't like you, then you will have problem. So it is
yes.
better to stay away from the king.
Yes. So today we learned interesting idea from this trend turn in the influence astrology they use about the Cazimi. But we learn new things, and also we purify our thought. We understand what does Cazimi mean, and what does combustion and under something means. And we learn so much. It's not just bless this and that. It's a process of purification. If
Right.
you want to apply it in a spiritual way. Thank you so much, Jupiter. I'm definitely going to invite you to talk about more in the traditional astrology. You explained it so well. Thank you so much. Well,
Thank you, Rod.
really, see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.